So I know I haven't mentioned them on the channel aside from the one meme video that I made about a year ago, but ever since middle school, Slipknot has been one of my favorite bands. And with that being said, I was, very devastated to hear about the passing of, Joey Jordison, their original drummer. And I know it's weird to get upset about celebrity deaths because 9 times out of 10 you didn't actually know that person. But at the same time, I can't really deny the impact that Slipknot's music had on my life. So, it's been about 2 weeks now, I believe, and I've been thinking, what can I do to show my appreciation for not just Joey, but for Slipknot as a whole? And the most obvious option was to do a cover song, which I might still do at some point in the near future, but I think just for now I want to do something that's a little easier. I want to, do a lot more videos where I'm talking to you guys, and I figured the only way to get more comfortable doing that is by talking to you guys. So in this video, I just want to tell you about some of my favorite Slipknot masks from each member of the band, going from numerical order, if you could really call it that in the case of this band. But getting right into it, let's start with number 1 on this list. Or I guess I should say in this case, number 0 on this list. Now, the reason I love Sid's Volume 3 mask is because obviously it was such a drastic turn from the gas masks that we were used to seeing for the first 2 album cycles. And the one, I know he had that weird regular skull looking one, but I don't like that one nearly as much as I like the how do you call it? I guess you could call it the bulky mask. I'm actually looking at a picture of it off screen, and I kind of noticed that the way some of the etching's done and the way some things protrude out the way they do, they kind of remind me of like something that H.R. Geiger would have done. Like if H.R. Geiger designed a mask for any member of Slipknot, specifically Sid, that is exactly what it would look like. It's probably the coolest one of all his masks that he has. The runner-up for this one actually would have been his Ahig mask, because I know he's a Transformers fan, but the first thing that I thought of when I saw this mask was obviously, Bionicle. It was something very Bionicle-esque looking. Alright, now we get to the man himself, Joey Jordison. Now, when I first got into Slipknot, All Hope Is Gone had just come out, and just like a lot of other people, Psychosocial was the first song I ever heard from them. And I remember the first time I saw the video, and there's all this fire, they're all headbanging, and then they show this one shot of Joey where he's just standing there and he's got his arms out like this, and there's all this fire around him. He's got this weird looking like patchwork jacket on, and he's got the crown of thorns on his mask, and just the way the mask looks, it's very patchwork. That's really the only way I can describe it. And when I saw that shot, I was just like, that is probably the creepiest looking mask that I have ever seen. So that instantly became like just my favorite Joey mask. And also, I'm gonna admit, I was a little bummed when I found out that Joey had first left the band, and I understand why he did, because he was having some health issues that was kind of not really preventing him from playing to his full potential, but you could tell that there was a noticeable difference once it got a hold of him, because it was already bad enough that a few years before that Paul Gray had passed away, and the future of the band was already kind of up in the air. So when Joey left, it was like, oh man, what are they gonna do? And I did try my best to keep up with some of Joey's post-Slipknot bands. Like I heard his first band, I think, was called Scar the Martyr, and I liked it. I think they had some pretty good grooves. It was kind of on the djenty side, but it was something new. It was something cool, so I really enjoyed that set. It's a shame that it was kind of short-lived. Then I heard another song from his band after that, I believe it was called Vimic. I thought they were pretty good. And I didn't hear anything from Sinsanium, if that's how you pronounce their name, but I'll definitely be sure to give them a listen when I can, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be... I mean, when you've got someone like Joey Jordison playing on drums for you, you've got to be good, right? I've really got to give it up for Paul, because if not for him, I probably wouldn't have had that desire to ever pick up a bass. Now, the reason I love Paul's Iowa mask is because there's just something so menacing about the virtually featureless appearance of it. There's just something about... That's the only word that I can use to describe his Iowa mask, is just menacing. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love the pig mask. It's creepy, it's cool looking, but for me personally, the Iowa mask is just where it's at, just because of how creepy it looks. Now, I mean, no disrespect towards Tortilla Man. I love his stage presence, and he's got great potential vocally. But if there was one thing that I missed about the Slipknot live shows, was Chris's backing vocals. They were just so deep and demonic, and it was like it perfectly complemented Corey's voice so well, especially Clown's vocals. And that's another thing that people don't really talk about much, is the fact that, you know, Clown's actually a pretty competent vocalist too. Now, I think the issue that I had with picking a Chris mask is the same issue that, surprisingly enough, I had with a lot of the other members on this list, and that's for the simple reason that there really isn't much changed. Like, yeah, some have different nose lengths, some have different colors, and it kind of made... Initially, it made picking a mask a little difficult, but, you know, then I started looking through different pictures of it, and then I kind of realized that so far, the coolest mask that he's worn was his silver Gray Chapter mask, and I thought it was pretty cool looking when I first saw the Devil in Eye video, which, by the way, is like the first Slipknot video to actually genuinely unnerve me. I know the blood and the gore was fake and all that, but still, just like the intensity of the whole video, it was just like, ugh. But yeah, there really isn't much to say about the Gray Chapter mask. It's shiny, it's cool. And I really wish we could have seen more of it, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. The only reason I love Jim Root's Gray Chapter mask is because it shows off his majestic beard. Now, of course, having a majestic beard myself, I understand the feeling of wanting to show off my glorious mane. Now, there's nothing wrong with his other Jester masks. That I've always thought they were pretty cool too, but there's just something about the way that the bottom half is cut out, so you can see, like, actually see his mouth as well as, you know, his aforementioned glorious beard. Plus, I just really love the little eye makeup. I love the shape of the, I guess you would call it the makeup around the eyes. I always thought I thought it was cooler, you know, than some of the other ones that I've seen. Just for me, at least. Not to say that there's anything wrong with any of Jim's other Jester masks or anything like that, but as far as I'm concerned, Gray Chapter mask is probably my most personal favorite Jim mask. Oh, Craig. Craig. Just like some of the other guys in this band, there's not really a lot of options to pick from as far as masks go, but I decided on his We Are Not Your Kind mask just for the spike mohawk that he's got going on. Now, I know it's a simple design, but there's just something punk about it, you know? It's just cool to look at. Yeah, there really isn't much more to be said about this mask. I just think it's kind of awesome looking. You know, with the mohawk, it really kind of adds to it. Because the actual face is very much the same. It's been the same since Iowa, pretty much. The face hasn't really changed. But yeah, it's the spiked mohawk for me. Here we are again with another Gray Chapter mask. But in all seriousness, the reason that I love Clown's Grey Chapter mask is just because of how unnerving it is to look at. Now, I actually had problems picking a clown mask that I liked for the same reason, but it was like the opposite. There was so many options to pick from. You know, I almost picked his Volume 3 mask because I liked all the bloody bandages around him. Then there was the All Hope Is Gone mask because I just loved the black leather stitching. It kind of reminded me of Catwoman's outfit in Batman Returns. But eventually I decided on the Grey Chapter mask because there's just something creepy about it. From the tattered hair to the fleshy pink skin tones. Also, it might be because in some of the promo pictures for when the album had just dropped, he just stares at you with these black, lifeless eyes that just stare into your soul. But yeah, all in all, it's just a really cool and creepy looking mask. Now, I know I had my work cut out for me when it came time to picking a mask from Mick Thomson that I liked. Because of all the other members of Slipknot, he probably has the least amount of masks, because he's hardly ever changed it. I mean, in all actuality, you really only get 3 choices. You get Hockey Mask, Angry Hockey Mask, and then even Angrier Hockey Mask. But the reason I like Mick's Volume 3 mask, well, Volume 3 and onward, is because of the 3 designs that he's had over the course of his career, it's just the one that suits him the most. Especially when you watch him on stage and he's trying to look all big and scary. And I'm not saying he doesn't pull it off. He pulls it off pretty well. He's a pretty intimidating guy when he's got that mask on. Also, real quick, I don't know if anyone remembers this movie that came out a few years ago called Sinister, but like the main monster, or like, yeah, I guess the main monster of that movie, you notice how they kind of look the same, especially with Mick's Volume 3 mask? Because that was like the first thing I pointed out to when I went to go see that movie with my dad. Also, I'm just going to say this now, and I hope this part ages well, but Mick's been using the same mask design for years, and we've got a new Slipknot album on the way, and I'm really excited for that, but I highly doubt that Mick will actually change his design. I think he's just gonna stick with the same one that he's been using since Volume 3. It's probably just gonna be like really shiny or something. I don't know. But yeah, if you ask me, it's gonna be even Angrier Hockey Mask all the way. Nope, I am not being ironic here. I genuinely like Corey Taylor's We Are Not Your Kind mask. Or at least the later iterations of it, because I'll be honest, the very first versions of it were pretty bad. I'll be honest though, I'm not really sure what Corey was trying to go for with this mask, because it just looks like an unsculpted version of the Ahig mask. You know, it kind of gives me that bloated corpse look, especially when he's got the white face paint on underneath it, so that just really kind of adds to that whole look. That's why I think that's what it looks like to me. Also, I need to say something to Corey Taylor in the non-existent chance that he sees this. You've been hyping up this new mask, talking about how kids are gonna hate it, and it's the most disgusting thing ever. So, Corey, you better deliver the goods, man. I wanna be traumatized! Now, originally, I wasn't going to include the new guys in this video because there's hardly any options to pick from, but I figured, you know what? Hey, they're part of the band too, I might as well include them too. Now, I thought the Burlap masks from the Grey Chapter were pretty cool because there was just something almost sinister about them. Plus, it was perfect at hiding the identity of the then unknown new members of Slipknot. It's kind of like, they kind of looked like Scarecrow decided to give up his life of crime, move to Iowa, and then join a band where you bang on a beer keg with a baseball bat. Also, I love that in certain variations of the masks you see some, or maybe it's in all versions of the mask, but the 9-pointed star that's stitched into the forehead. I always thought that was a pretty cool little feature. Now, when it came to Jay's "We Are Not Your Kind" mask, I'll admit, I was a little on the fence about it because when I first saw it, the first thing that came to my mind was, this looks like just another version of Paul Gray's Volume 3 and Ahig masks. And you know what? For all I know, maybe that was the intention. Maybe it's a nice little homage to Paul Gray, which would be pretty cool if that was the case. But since then, it's actually kind of grown on me. I really think it's just like with Mick's mask, it suits Jay. And one little feature that I thought was actually pretty cool that I honestly never noticed about the "We Are Not Your Kind" Jay masks. It was something that I didn't notice until I started watching the House of Masks YouTube channel, was that around the edges of the mask you can see some of the burlap from the Gray chapter era kind of breaking away and peeling off, so I thought that was a pretty cool little feature. You know, I'm looking at this picture right now, and even like right now, I still have absolutely no clue what V-Man's mask is supposed to be, so I've just kind of taken to calling it the Doctor Doom mask, because if you put a mask of Doctor Doom and then V-Man's mask right next to each other, they kind of have the same design. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a very cool mask, though. I'm not dogging it or anything. It's a very cool looking mask. I love just man, what would you even call that? There's just something about the etching of the mask that just like really kind of adds something to it. I don't know what. I really don't know. Like I said, it's really hard for me to put it together because I have absolutely no clue what V-Man's mask is even supposed to be. See, it's pretty obvious that I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm definitely very interested in seeing what kind of masks V-Man and Jay are going to have for this next album. And now we get to the person who is obviously the coolest member of the band, Tortilla Man. No, I mean, like, you could be the worst band ever, but if you have someone in your band named Tortilla Man, that's going to pique people's interest enough to want to go see what Tortilla Man is all about. Truthfully, I never had a problem with Tortilla Man, and I think that some of the hate that he kind of gets is a little unfair, you know? You know, and like I said, you know, I know I said earlier in the video that I do miss Chris's backing vocals, but Tortilla Man does have potential. You know, granted, he sounded like an old man in the earlier shows, but you know, when you listen to him in the shows that happened before, you know, the thing happened, he was like not getting close to Chris, but he was at the threshold. But yeah, really, I love Tortilla Man's mask just because of how simple it is. It is so gross looking. It is creepy. It honestly looks like something that you would have pulled out of Ed Gein's home. Now, in some pictures, it does look a little goofy, and in others, it just looks downright sinister. I don't know why I've been using that word so much in this video, but when it comes to a band like Slipknot, sinister is practically synonymous with them, in my opinion at least. And honestly, I really, really cannot wait to see Tortilla Man's new mask for this upcoming album cycle. That is, provided they stick with the whole tortilla theme, or they might just do something completely different. Who knows? So, there you have it. Those are my favorite Slipknot masks from each member of the band. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to just sit back and hang out with me. I really do appreciate it. And of course, I want to send my condolences to not just the friends and family of Joey, but also those of Mike Ho of Metal Church and Dusty Hill of ZZ Top. So, with all that being said, I am going to close this video out with a montage of just different pictures of Slipknot that I've drawn over the years. Some I'm a little more proud of than others, but I know you fellow maggots will definitely appreciate them. So anyways, rest in peace, Joey, and thank you.